Hey guys. Oops, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold your mute. Hold on a minute, guys. Got all these papers here. I gotta figure out my settings. Um, okay. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Hey Angela. Hey Lisa, honey child, sister girl. Hi Penny. Good morning, Darnell. My sisters and brother is here. I love y'all. Thanks for coming. It's not going to be a long live because I have some shopping to do. Um, but I did tell you guys that I was going to start a series on coaching, so you guys can get a idea on what coaching is and see how it can benefit your life. And because it seems like it's a lot of misunderstanding about coaches. Since I came on the scene in defense of Chef Carmen, everyone has this distorted idea of what coaching is. And so I decided to do um, a large series on different topics of coaching. Okay. In the series that I do, they're not going to dive into how to work out those things, but the series that I'm doing is clarity coaching. So clarity coaching is basically telling you why or explaining to you why things happen, giving you a better understanding as to why things happen. That's what clarity coaching is. And then, of course, coaching is helping you and guiding you into working those specific issues out. And of course, I can't do that on a live because it didn't take us an hour to get to those problems, and the daggone sure don't take an hour to resolve them. So that's where my expertise come in, and I'm an expert at helping people resolve their intrinsic issues, their childhood trauma, relationship. As a master relationship coach, means that I have been extendedly certified through the ICF um, to become a master coach, and that requires at least 1,500 hours of relationship coaching in order to be qualified for that or certified through, the ICF. So, whew. Good morning, Kathy. Hey, Kimmy Kim. Good morning. Hey, Sharon Benz, honey child, sister girl. It's a very wet Wednesday and pouring torrential rain since yesterday. Yeah, I pray. I'm going out for my pamper mani pedi. So am I. I'm Sharon. And that's okay because water, rain, you know me, I'm positive. When it rains, it cleans the earth, it waters everything that needs to be watered. It's very necessary, although unpleasant. Good morning, my honey. My wife is here. Hey, Kathy, Bernadine. Oh, thank you, Bernadine. It's twisted. I'm going to take it out later on, but thank you. It's been twisted for 2 days, actually. Thank you so much, Penny. I appreciate you. Hi, Sin. Sin is on YouTube. I'm gonna start streaming more to my YouTube, guys, because I really want to build up my YouTube. And in saying that, I need to put action to that, because I haven't been sharing to my YouTube. I guess because sometimes it's overwhelming. I have so much to share there and so many videos that I can upload there. And because it takes so much time, I kind of procrastinate on it. But I'm going to make a conscious effort now to not only stream from there when I'm doing certain videos, but also post on there so that you guys can have more content there. So if you guys are not sharing or not sharing, if you guys are not on my YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's free. All right. And please like and share. Please like and share. Because I'm on StreamYard, I can't see who sent stars. So In advance, thank you so much for the stars. Hey, Beverly. Hey, Zeva. Ziva. I would say Zeva first. Ziva. Hey, Janice. So, yeah, this is not going to be a long live at all. Okay. At all. But I want to start by saying I want to talk about relationships. Now, relationship coaching is really the foundation of all of my coaching programs. Whether it's in my mindset coaching program, which of course is learning how to have a relationship with yourself, okay, how to have a healthy relationship with yourself, or it's just coaching in general because our lives consist of forming relationships. We come in here in relationship to people, parents, siblings, cousins, everyone, and so having healthy relationships or learning how to have healthy relationships is important, as we can know none of us can live here by ourselves. None of us can be on earth by ourselves. We serve each other by developing relationships, and having relationships of conflict is actually more healthy than you think, because when you're able to have relationships of conflict, and thank you so much guys for the hearts, when you're able my wife, when you're able to have relationships of conflict, if you can learn how to use those conflictive moments in order to grow yourself, then those relationships become valuable to you, more valuable than the relationships that are easy, that you believe serve you. Okay. Conflicted relationships hold more value than easy relationships. Why? Because conflicted relationships forces us to not only get in touch with our own personal judgments. Of course, we're looking at the other person like they're wrong, but if you're looking at it the right way, it helps us understand who we are as people, our personal judgments. And when it comes to the people that we really hold near and dear to our hearts, like our parents and our children, when conflict arises in that, we're forced we're forced to look at those people in a different light. We're forced to accept things that we consider to be flawed, you know and we actually learn from those people that we judge, and those people that we consider to be flawed, that's in our lives. Everyone else, typically it's like out of sight, out of mind. You're not my family member. I don't have to see you no more. I can discard of you. But those relationships are valuable also. Thank you so much for the stars. I mean, for the hearts. I don't know who sent stars, but if you did, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Share. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. Please, guys, share this live. Okay, so I'm going to get right into it. Okay. So if your relationship is not working, it has nothing to do with you fundamentally being worthy of love. All right. And you'd be surprised how many people believe that they don't deserve love. And they come to this judgment on themselves based on an imperfect past that they might have had, feeling like they're condemned by God by some hideous thing that they might have done. Their family has told them so many times, all the things that they always do wrong. And so um, what I have come to learn in coaching relationships is it's a number of factors that contribute to a relationship not working, whether it's with your partner, your spouse, your family, or your children. Okay. And so here are some of the reasons why relationships don't work. Well, not that it doesn't work. I'm gonna get to that later, to that afterwards. But if your relationship is not working, it's not because you're a terrible person. People keep going on my website. I keep hearing this ding. Hi, Daphne. Yes, I'll be there this evening. Thank you so much, Daphne. I'm surprised. Did my website send you a notification as a reminder for our meeting later on? You should be getting one. So it's not because you're a terrible person, or that you're undeserving of it, or that you're incapable of love, or that you're even unlovable. It could be because you don't know, for the first thing is that you don't know, many of us don't know how it is to be in a healthy relationship, primarily because we have never saw and seen one. You'd be surprised how many people have grown up or was raised in unhealthy households, households of abuse, households of unhealthy relationships between their parents, and so they develop this habit, not even a habit, they develop the idea that having an unhealthy relationship is normal, and so when you finally come across someone, who may be your perfect person or your so-called soulmate, you're unable to identify this relationship as a good relationship because the conflict is not there, especially if the person comes in a way that's different than what you're used to. You're used to the arguing, you're used to the cussing out, you're used to, calling names, you're used to all of this drama in your relationship. And some people, believe it or not, become addicted to drama and they don't even know it, addicted to chaos even, and they don't even know it. It's just that chaos to a lot of people are normal. And we know this because I always express this with myself. You get people who curse up a storm, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't judge people who curse. I mean, have at it. And plus, I think it's a stress reliever, right? But when you get to the point where you're saying, you're constantly you using the word using the B word against the people that you love, even if it's in playing, that may be fine. But for me, it's not. So my friends, I have friends who are habitual cursors, right? And they'll use that term, yeah, be da 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 da, and it's just a normal way of them speaking with other people. But when it comes to me, they kind of lay off of that because I don't use that towards my friends. And even in playing, I don't want that used towards me. Why? Because having that kind of language is not something that I'm used to. It's not something that I grew up with. It's not something that me and my siblings or my large family has ever used towards each other. So it's not normal for us to just curse each other out or fight, you know what I mean, in a way that's egregious. And just, I mean, I'm talking about people in a way that's egregious and fight and use that type of language. So for me, it's not normal. But for a lot of people, it is. And I'm not saying that the people that actually use language like that towards the people that they love is wrong. I'm just saying, my capacity to accept that kind of language as an action of love is I can't identify with that. So conflicted relationships are very, very normal. They're very normal. um let me see. And I'm looking at my phone right here, guys, because it's closer to me and I'm able to see things on Facebook as opposed to from StreamYard. Another reason why uh, another reason why you may not be able to formulate a healthy relationship is because you don't know how to resolve conflict in a way that will allow you to continue in the relationship after the conflict, you know? um Again, sometimes conflict is so severe, can have an impact on someone's life. And a lot of that has to do with trauma, childhood trauma and conflict that they've been through. And so you believe that conflict, well, from what you've seen, conflict is normal, and walking away from people is normal. Like if someone is conflictive, you just walk away. A lot of people that are formulating relationships don't know how to remain in a relationship after the conflict. Okay. And then another reason, it could be that you don't know how to maintain boundaries without a level of guilt associated with it. And so you flip flop between putting up a wall, which is different than boundaries, all right? Or you allow a person to walk all over you, which builds resentment, okay? So a passive person, a person that's extremely passive, tend to build up resentment in their relationships because they don't know how to create healthy boundaries and they don't want to hurt someone's feelings, all right? And so even in creating boundaries, they feel guilty. in creating those boundaries. All right. And so those can also be reasons why people are unable to cope in relationships or build healthy relationships. Let me see what you guys are saying. Oh, Carmen's here. Hey, Chef Carmen. Hey, Betty Loud. You're here listening. Okay, Lisa. Thank you, Linda, for sharing. Thank you, Betty, for sharing. Thank you, Carmen. Carmen Smith is here. Everyone saying hi, Chef, and hello to Carmen. Thank you, Teresa, for sharing. I appreciate everyone sharing. Good morning, Antoinette. Bernadette agrees. Good morning, Coach Lena and family. Enjoy your blessed day, says Joyce. Thank you, Joyce. And we will. Same to you. Good morning, Glory. Thank you so much, Angela. I appreciate it. I have to untwist it today, but thank you so much. Billy Francis, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Denise. Good morning, Bernadine. Okay, so those can be the reasons why you're unable to formulate healthy relationships. And of course, communication. Poor communication is number one. But the misconception about poor communication in relationships is that everyone should know how to communicate as an adult. And I'm here to tell you, as a certified life coach, that is absolutely false. And where? 2 o'clock? Okay. So yeah, so I'll be done with this like in half an hour, then we can go shopping. All right. Babe, did you set up Biscuit's hair appointment? 4 o'clock? Okay, good. So what people believe about communication is that we're supposed to have great communication. And if communication is not there, then a relationship doesn't work. That is absolutely not true. As a certified life coach, that is absolutely not true. Number one, building healthy communication takes a long time. Now, there are a couple of instances where it doesn't take a long time, and those are people that's already been there, done that. They have probably already been married, probably had a few relationships. They're at a really big age to where they know exactly what they want, and they've come to a place in their life that they allow people to be who they need to be and allow that person to develop in the way that they have to develop. Okay, so they really have no judgments. All they want is a companion. They want somebody to love. They want someone to share their life with, and they're willing to do that with someone that they don't know and take a chance on love, being open for whoever that person is without that person ever having change in themselves. Okay, and they make a decision to do that. But for most of us, communication can take years. So if you're in a brand new relationship and you're judging your capacity to stay in the relationship based on communication, meaning for most people, that person doesn't know how to communicate, because I'm completely clear about what I say in a relationship and how I feel, and I give them details about how I feel so they cannot be confused. Okay, and that's not true. That doesn't make you a good communicator. What makes a person in a relationship a good communicator is a person that has a capacity to get into the other person's mind and get them to see where they're coming from. And if they can see where they're coming from, then that other person develops empathy, puts themselves in that person's shoes, and then things change with the other person. Your ability to have your partner hear you, not through your ears, I'm talking about in your mind, intrinsically feel you and say, wow, I never thought about it like that until now. I've never thought about it like that. I've never known that you have felt that way until now, even though you've said it 1,000 times. That's what a good communicator is. And good communicators are people that are mainly writers, keynote speakers. You get someone in a large room, in a large stage, well, not a large room, a stage, a big conference, and you get people that are resistant to that conference because they're like, I don't really want to go, but somebody drags them there. And then before you know it, the person that they never wanted to see, they end up leaving there like, wow, this person really opened up my eyes. That's a good communicator. When a person has the ability to open up your eyes and see their perspective. So a lot of relationships think that they have good communication and well, that they are good communicators, and their partners are not. That is not true. Neither one of you are good communicators if you don't have the ability to draw that person into your story, to have them see where you are coming from. If they are resistant and you're saying I'm as clear as I can be, it's your energy. You're not clear. you're not clear. So that's another a misconception. But communication takes a long, long, long time. It can take years before you actually settle and be like, you know what, this person is gonna, my person is gonna learn the way that they're gonna learn. They, when you come to a point in your life where where you're saying, I'm gonna give this person a room to grow. I'm gonna give them the room to grow, and you become adaptable until then. And I don't mean settle for somebody cussing you out all the damn time. No, I mean as far as a person's inability to understand you at that moment. People need time. We all need time to develop. So communication can take decades for some people, even. Okay. But the key is that once you come to a place where your communication is okay, and ask anyone who's been married for 20 years, they'll tell you that 15 of those years they was in a bad place because of communication. But after 20 years, they come to a point where, now they're ready to communicate. Why? Because they're open to who each other is as a person. They no longer have those boundaries, saying, well, if you don't change, I'm leaving. And I always tell my well, people who I'm coaching in relationships, especially spouses, if the person you're in front of never changes anything for the rest of their lives, can you still be with them for the rest of your life? And if the answer is no, you're in the wrong relationship, because then you're in a relationship where you are expecting someone to change. So you're not there for who they are at that moment. You're there for their potential. And the potential never comes but not that it never comes. Potential takes time to come. And the thing about potential, or being with someone for their potential, is that you're waiting for them to change. So nothing is ever good until they change. And so that sets you up for a tumultuous relationship. Okay. You have to love that person in front of you who you choose, no matter what, for their true, authentic self, in order for them to fully be who they are in your relationship, fully express themselves. So you won't have any things like, stories like, well, in the beginning, they wasn't like that, and now this is how they are, you know? And so you have to make room for a person showing up in whatever way they show up. So that way you can choose whether or not you are able to deal with them. But to say that you're with somebody based on their willingness or their potential to change, well, not willingness, their potential to change takes time. And we all know that. We all have to get knocked down by life 10 times before we learn and grow and change. And so you'll be suffering the war scars and the bruises of that person's change. And the moment they decide to change, they're not going to no longer be with you. Because see, the reason why you guys were together in the first place is because you guys were on the same frequency. You were on the same energy level. You had the same conflict. And when that one person decides to grow and you're still down here, they're going to seek someone else on that other level that you work so hard to see them through. Okay. And then the person that ends up with them is going to be the one that reaps the benefit of all your hard labor and bruises. Okay. So you have to make sure that when you're in a relationship, that you are with that person because of who they are in that moment. And if they never change a thing, then you're in a then well, if they never change a thing, I'm sorry, you can still be with them. If that is not your motive, if you're waiting on something to change, if you're waiting on something to change, then you have to reconsider um how you show up in that relationship, which means that you have to adapt to some things, because this happens even in long-term relationships, 5 and 10 years. People develop habits or bad habits or addictions and stuff like that. Those are different situations that you have to deal with as they come along, you know, and you have to determine whether or not you're absolutely ready to go through an addiction with somebody or help them heal and all that other stuff. All right. Hold on, guys. Let me just see what you guys are saying. Yeah. Hey, Billy. Hi, Lee. Look, hi, Lena. Hi, Bobby. Eula. Hello, Eula. Jenna. Jenna, why you ask, is Carmen okay? Carmen is fine. Hello, Helen. Hello, Ava. Okay. And so those are the reasons why. Those are the primary reasons why um people are unable to have a relationship. But just know that also all of those things that I have mentioned are fixable and has nothing to do with your intrinsic worth. Has nothing to do with your intrinsic worth. Okay. In order to fix those things in relationships, in order to have healthy relationships, and this is getting to the meat of coaching, okay, letting you guys know that there is hope, and the things that are wrong in a relationship again has nothing to do with your intrinsic worth. But it's all about having or developing capacity skills. All right. There's four things: capacity skills, developing skill building, and unlearning and relearning. Okay. So let's deal with capacity building. No, good afternoon, Chef. Everyone's saying good afternoon, Chef. Hey, Elaine. Hey, Elaine. So capacity building, which is one of the modules that I use in relationship building. Capacity building is a process of development, and a process of developing. I mean, developing a process of developing and strengthening skills such as, I got to stop getting distracted by this. Hold on, let me get Penny's comment up here. Hold on. See, it's delayed on this StreamYard, and let me get Penny's comment up. I mean, Penny's pin post up here. Okay. So one of the modules that I use, as I said, was developing the capacity, um, developing capacity building. All right, and that's a process of developing and strengthening skills such as intrinsic um, discernment and abilities that allow you to identify unhealthy traits in yourself and in your partner in order to survive, adapt, and thrive in a meaningful relationship. Okay, that's what developing capacity building is. Okay, that's what it is. You have to understand, be able to identify unhealthy traits in a partner, even especially when it comes to picking partners in the beginning. You have to be able to identify that. So when you're developing your capacity, you're working on your intrinsic, your gut feeling, all right, your intrinsic needs. That means that when you work when you're dealing with intrinsic and external needs, they're different. When I'm coaching people in their career or whatever it is, I deal with intrinsic needs. What does your heart say you want versus what you were taught to want? What's in your heart and why it's in your heart, what drives you. So when you're dealing with skill building or capacity building, you're working on intrinsic needs, you're working on discernment, because we always have to have some level of discernment when we're picking our partners, when we're dealing with our partners, when we're trying to work out conflict in a relationship. We have to have some level of discernment, and that's understanding where people are at. That's seeing people, seeing beyond the surface, seeing beyond their words, not going primarily by their words, but really going by the energy that you're feeling. Okay, getting that discernment, having an insight into their actions, you know, and why they do things. Okay, or having insight into the meaning of something. When they do something and they hurt you in a certain way, and then they tell you it's because of something else. It's mainly, when you have that discernment, you're able to discern where things come from. All right. And whether or not a person is even capable of love at that moment in their life, whether they're even able to love you back. That's discernment. Okay. Um, being able to identify emotionally unavailable people, learning how to identify those people. All right. So it's developed. So it's working on your capacity. Okay. It also, what's she saying? Mm-hmm. um, and it's also being able to work on unhealthy traits in yourself, to work on identifying unhealthy traits in yourself and also unhealthy traits in your partner in order to survive, adapt, and have a meaningful relationship in a healthy way. All right. The other thing is skill building. Now, when I discuss skill building with my clients, is typically emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and understand and manage your own emotions. Okay. Not putting your triggers, your trauma, your wounds into the hands of someone else to work out. That's another big mistake that people in relationships make. That's a big mistake that we all make when we're trying to cultivate a healthy relationship. We come in stating what our wounds are, what someone else has done to us in the past, what we won't stand for, and what you better not do. So basically, the person that we're with is now convicted of things that they never done, because you came into the relationship with all of these scars and all of these unhealed wounds that could have came from your childhood trauma or from even past relationships. And now I hold the burden of never ever replicating that behavior, because if I do, then I become just like the other person that hurt you with that same behavior. And here's the thing, people are different. People have different motives, they have different ways that they respond. And so when you hold someone else accountable for something that someone else has done, something that you came into relationship with, you actually set up landmines, was what I call them. All of these landmine grenades that if you step on any of them, then boom, and you become like the other person, and now the relationship is crazy. And now you hold this, you're putting this guilt trip on the person that you're with and saying, you knew that I had these things, you knew what happened to me before, and you're going to do the same thing. And then you deem that person terrible just because the other person who did that to you was terrible. And what that typically does, when you enter in a relationship with all of these landmines and all of these stipulations and all these things and all these guards, you stop the person that you're with from showing up authentically in their whole entire self. And that's a problem, because you're not vulnerable enough to receive that person for what they are. And let me just let you know something. When you start relationships, or when you're in a relationship, you have to, and this may sound crazy to y'all, but I'm gonna explain it to y'all. You have to allow that person the freedom to hurt you or love you the same way you allowed the other person. In other words, you have to be completely vulnerable. You have to be completely vulnerable. There's no other way to have a relationship unless you're open for hurt and you're open for love. Now, do we want to get hurt? Absolutely not. Is setting up boundaries and saying, well, not boundaries, but setting up landmines, because there's a difference between boundaries, meaning that you're not going to accept abuse, you're not going to accept being spoken to in a terrible way, disrespected, you're not going to accept infidelity, you're not going to accept A, B, and C. So those are boundaries. But landmines are, my ex did this to me and stayed out late a couple of nights, and come to find out he was cheating, so you're not allowed to stay out late at all. My ex didn't do this, and so you better not do that. My ex did this terrible thing, and so you better not do this terrible thing. And what's terrible to them may not be terrible to you. You see what I'm saying? So it's different experiences, and so when you do that, you don't allow the person to be who they're going to be. So what happens? They come into the relationship under a guise, under disguise. You know how they say, I met your representative and now this is the real you? Well, the reason why that happens is because you have, in the beginning, you set up all these things and said what you don't like. And so that person, not that it's right, but that person said, well, shoot, in order for me to get in and let them see who I really am, let me act a certain way. And once I get them to love me, now let me show them who the real, who I really am. The reason why they did that is because you set up all these landmines from your past traumas that they had nothing to do with. And I always say, hey, Lily, my son is watching. Hi, honey. I always say, allow a person to come in whichever form they come in, developing your capacity for discernment, okay, would allow you to make a clear choice, a conscious and informed choice on whether or not this person is good for you or not. So if they come in expressing the same behavior as the people who have hurt you in the past, okay, at least you allowed them to show up in their true form, and at least you'll have the discernment to determine whether their motives behind those actions, although the same as the one from, although the action is the same as the one that hurt you, you'll be able to decide whether their motives are different, because motives are important. One person could have had the motive of hurting you on purpose in the past. This person may have just said this phrase not to hurt you, but in joking, but because it's common for them, and they had no ill will behind it. So that's where discernment comes in at. That's where discernment comes in at. And so you can't hold people accountable for what you've been through in the past. You just can't do that. The best thing for you to see a person for who they are in the moment, instead of waiting for these things to show up later, is to allow them to be whoever they're going to be. I always say, don't come in speaking about anything that happened in your past relationship that traumatized you. So that way those stipulations won't go on the next person. And then you can see that's this person for who they are. And you can see whether, and then you can make a decision whether or not you're going to actually deal with them. Okay. So, having emotional intelligence is recognizing where you're at emotionally when it comes to arguments in relationship, when it comes to conflict, recognizing where you're at and understanding where that pain comes from. And if it didn't if the person in your relationship didn't actually initiate that pain, and it was actually a wound that you came in a relationship with that was open, that other person had caused, you have to understand that person didn't do that to you. That person did. And it's your responsibility to heal that, not put the burden of that person carrying that and creating a safe space for you to exist with your trauma. You have to work out your own trauma. You have to work out your own conflict within yourself. You have to work out, if you're going to be in a relationship and you're going to come in with all these wounds, you have to make sure that you're the one who's managing these wounds, and you cover them up, and you don't even tell that person about their wounds. You could tell them, if you're going to be responsible with it, and say, these are the wounds that I had in my past, in my life, with my family, with my parents, with my father, with my mother, with my siblings, with my relationships. And I don't expect you to carry any of them. I'm taking care of my own wounds. I'm going to handle this. So if I become reactive to something, I'm going to do my best to recognize where I'm at and know that you didn't cause those wounds, and they probably came from something else. But I just want you to understand that I am working out some pain, because let's face it, some trauma we have to learn on the job in order to work it out. We have to do it on the job. We have to do it with our other relationships, because those other relationships kind of show us where we are emotionally and gives us the insight into what we're actually dealing with, because our emotions and our energy is projected on them. And so who's the best person to tell you that you're doing something wrong or that you're in a wrong emotional state but your partner? Okay. So managing your own triggers and emotions are key. That's key. That's key. Okay. And then of course, unlearning and relearning some things, right? Many of us learn by what we have seen in our parents, what we have seen just in the world when it comes to relationships, when it comes to what's acceptable and what's not in a relationship. You may have grown up in a conflicted relationship with your parent. Well, not you having a conflicted relationship with your parents, but your parents having a conflicted relationship, with each other, and that became normal. unlearn that. Now, it is normal, and you can use that trauma or that conflict to your benefit, but it's not normal to stay in a conflictive relationship. Conflictive relationships are indications of something that needs to be adjusted in a person's life, whether it's my life or my wife's life. Okay. So conflict is necessary to grow from, but it's not a but it's not a place to stay. If you are in conflict in your relationship, those are indications that things need to transition into a better frequency, into a higher frequency. It's not necessarily that things are wrong with you, but they're not the best place to be in order to cultivate a healthy relationship. So if you're not able to do that, you have to kind of look at where you're at. Okay. You have to look at where you're at, and you have to unlearn some things that you have accepted as normal. Okay. You have to unlearn those things. You have to start relearning what it is to have a healthy relationship. It's important to look at people that you are close with, that you consider to have a relationship, a good relationship, or people that you aspire to be like in regards to relationships. Even though all things that look on appear on the outside is not necessarily true on the inside, but understanding that conflict is a necessary component in relationships in order for you to resolve internal conflicts and relationship conflicts. Yes, it's a tool, but it's not where you should live. It's not where you should live. You should never become comfortable with conflict. But it's important to use, and you guys always know that I speak about purpose and pain. There's always purpose and pain. And if you can get the value of that conflict, if you can get to a different place and realize and say, let's just say that people have always told you that you're confrontational, that you hold a lot of resentment, or that you're explosive, and it's more than one person, and they everywhere you go, people are saying, well, you're always exploding, and and you're not the easiest person to talk to, but you think that you're the easiest person to talk to. At some point after that second person, you have to start thinking, maybe I'm not the easiest person to talk to. So you have to start digging into that. It's not always someone not willing to accept you for who you are. It's just that what you're doing, or the energy that you're projecting, is uncomfortable to the other person, and is making them hard to adapt to your ways. And maybe that has to do with the other person as well, ability to just accept. But nonetheless, if that if you're offending a few people, and they're constantly telling you this, or how you respond is in a a negative fashion, but you don't mean it that way, you really need to look at what you're doing. Again, relationships are here to teach us who we are. Okay, you don't always have to believe everything somebody says about you, but if you got two or more people saying the same thing about you, that may be something for you to look into. And again, that has a lot to do with emotional intelligence, understanding where you are, understanding where your pain comes from, understanding why you respond the way that you respond. Okay, and understanding what you have to do to make things better for you, just so you can show up as a better version of yourself. All right, so let me see what you guys are saying. Ooh, I'm way behind. I'm way behind. Let me go. Let me go. Let me go. Hi to everyone, Sandra, Tanja, Janelle, everyone, because I'm going further down to where we are. Thank you. Hey, Janelle. Learning how to love and understand yourself. Absolutely. That is key. That is key. That is key. And being and loving yourself, guys. People always say, well, you have to learn how to love yourself. Well, what does that look like exactly? I have heard that so much in my life, and I have even given people that advice decades ago without really knowing what that looked like. It wasn't until I became aware of what that was. And it took a long time, because no one was ever able to explain what that means. Well, you just have to love yourself. Get out of that relationship and love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself. So what does that look like? Loving yourself looks like the way that you love yourself is to Number one, accept your flaws, right? Be gentle with yourself, not beat yourself up over something that you ate that might have been bad for you, even though it was bad for you, but not beat yourself up over it. Be as gentle with yourself as you are to the people that would need your advice or that was going through something and they needed your input and they needed you to help them through it. You have to be equally as nice and equally as empathetic with yourself. Loving yourself is not, well, I'm going to get my hair done and I'm going to get my nails done. Yeah, that's a component, but it's not really what it is. Loving yourself is not opening is setting boundaries. Okay? Knowing yourself enough to understand what you need in your life, what's good for you, and honoring those things. Honoring those things, not letting anyone get away with a boundary or cross a boundary that you have set for yourself, a reasonable boundary, that is, you know, and a reasonable boundary, not letting anyone get away with that, with having you put down your boundaries. You know, you have to set standards for yourself. That's loving yourself enough to know that you deserve better. You deserve everything and you deserve love. That's what loving yourself means. Loving yourself means that you're not going to allow anyone to hurt you on purpose. Okay? You're not going to allow anyone to hurt you on purpose. And even if they do it by accident, because not all hurt comes from somebody being purposeful with it. A lot of it are misunderstandings and, accidents. I didn't mean to hurt you. Okay? But not allowing someone to hurt you on purpose or to continue a pattern of behavior that is not conducive to what you desire out of love, in love. So that's what loving yourself is. Is being gentle with yourself, is taking time for yourself, is being patient with yourself, it's accepting yourself. Okay, loving yourself means changing some things about yourself that most people have pointed out to you, and then you realize is not good for cultivating or building healthy relationships. Fixing those parts of yourself that you feel is holding you back from being a better version of yourself, for you, not for no one else, because you don't owe anyone a better version of yourself. You only owe it to yourself. Okay, so if you want to become better in your life, you have to love yourself enough to change some things that will create or make room for that better thing in your life. Okay, so that's what self-love is. It's not taking yourself on dates, it's not getting your nails done. Of course that's pampering, and of course that's a form of self-love, but those things don't help you grow. It just makes you feel good temporarily. Like, I'm getting my nails done today, makes you feel good temporarily, but it doesn't help you grow. All right. Loving yourself means doing what it takes to make yourself grow. All right, taking accountability for your actions, and trying to be the best person that you can be. That's loving yourself, loving that good part of yourself and projecting that mainly to the world, and understanding who you are and what your emotions are and how you react and respond to people. So those are all the elements of the qualities of loving yourself. Okay, but primarily in relationships, setting boundaries, knowing what you deserve, not settling for less, not giving a person more chances than they deserve, not allowing people to tell you that they've changed without any action behind it, and just letting them come back without any real actions. Like, in other words, they're not gonna do drugs anymore. Well, they never went to rehab, but they promised. No, go to rehab, get your life together, and when you're done with all of that addiction or whatever it is you're going through in your life, then you come back to me. A person that's not able to love you, you have to understand what it looked like for a person to be emotionally unavailable. That's loving yourself and figuring out how to identify those traits in a person. So it's basically doing yourself a good service for your own well-being. That's what that means. Hi, Mabel. Yep, my wife said, know your worth. Lily said, love yourself enough not to change your body to make someone else happy. Yes, endangering your health. Absolutely. That's a good one. That's a really good one, Lily. How is Chef Carmen doing? You're just concerned. All you have to do is go on her live and ask her how she's doing, Linda. Why are you concerned? I'm just curious. She's the best person to ask about her well-being. Mm-hmm. Yep. So does anyone have any more questions? Any questions? Any questions? Anything you want to contribute to this before we go? You meant can. Can love grow? Oh, on you even when you're not ready. Can love grow on you even when you're not ready? That's a good question, honey. That's a really good question. Um, well, first of all, spiritually we are love, right? And we are a well we look, we are already love, okay? Can love grow on us? We can learn how to love because we are already love, right? But we can learn how to love someone through the behavior of someone else loving us. So if you mean it in that way, absolutely. Oh, thank you. Baby, close my door. So if you mean it in that way, absolutely. If you mean it in a way where so can we learn how to love through the actions of someone loving us? Yes, we can. We can. That's the best and I think the greatest example of love is when example of how to love when someone loves you despite who you are, and they show unconditional love. Eventually, you'll realize that that's who you want to become. You want to become a person that really knows how to love for a person and accept the person unconditionally. Yes, Grand Rising and Perry. Good morning, Vidette. Good morning, Cynthia. Thank you, Lily. Hmm. So, guys, if there is nothing else, I am going to end this live. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me on this live. I'm going to be doing this at least twice a week where I'm going to be doing coaching sessions, clarity coaching on various topics. I hope you guys found value in this. I am a certified life coach, and I primarily specialize in human and spiritual psychology. I teach people how to think and how to show up in the world that's conducive to to the people that they want to become. And I help them do that. Thank you so much, my brother. I love you. Thank you so much. You guys can visit my website. Penny has pinned it on the bottom. It's lenacrespo.com. You can also join my subscribers group for only $4.99 a month, where I give monthly coaching sessions to 2 or 3 people. Whoever signs up, I typically allow I mean not allow I typically give them coaching. I have one today, someone, a subscriber from my group, who's actually receiving a free 90-minute clarity coaching session. You guys can go to my website and sign up as a subscriber. It is free, lenacrespo.com. And if you guys want to know anything about spiritual psychology, go to my other website, which is Life Death by Design. Not Life and Death by Design, Life Death by Design.com, where you will see my upcoming book. You'll have access to my podcast, and you'll see what's in my head about life and death. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.